Oh, this, it seems like this version of OBS doesn't record automatically as I start streaming. And previously it did. So what I'm gonna do today is set this timer here and then this stopwatch. And then once I feel that I got tired, I'm gonna see how much time has passed. And I'm gonna take a break for 1/4 of the time that has passed. I'm probably gonna do some guided meditation or something like that. And then after that, I'm gonna go until I get tired again, and then I'm gonna stop. And the reason why is because I saw the video of a guy saying that this is the best method. It's a variation of the Pomodoro technique. And it makes sense to me, so I'm gonna try it out. So let's start. And what happened yesterday is that the stream cut out because of the internet. The internet was had bad connection. Then after the stream, I tried to fix the driver stuff and the resolution of the monitor. And I was following some tutorials, and I realized that the driver that I had wasn't the one that I have on Windows, I think, which is the Radeon AMD. And I think that was the problem with the resolution, the monitor in Linux. But then once I changed the configuration and I rebooted the system, I restarted, I got a black screen. So then I decided that I decided to boot on Windows and just stay on Windows. And now I think that I'm not gonna work with Ubuntu. I'm just gonna erase Ubuntu from the other driver and then put Windows on both drivers that I have right now and in the same computer. And then and the reason why is because I have too many things to study and to do. So I can't afford to just spend a bunch of time trying to solve these issues every time. And it seems like Linux, I'm gonna have to study a lot all the time because everything you have to do is a lot harder in the beginning because you have to download stuff and you're just not used how it works. So I think the best thing to do is stay on Windows for now until I'm able to. Uh, so maybe in the future I'll do Linux again. And for now I don't have the two SSDs because I need to get another version of Windows and then yeah. So I think I'm gonna continue where I stopped this before. Obviously now I don't have the. Let me see if I can find the. I didn't open the file with this stuff. Yeah. So this stuff here. So obviously I lost all the comments I had before, just like I explained last time when the computer failed and I had to change the things. So now I think I'm not gonna add comments anymore. I'm just gonna try to see if I can figure out what's happening just by following the execution of this stuff. Remember I was going on this function here with this add. And then I realized that this is the function that adds the nodes. And I was trying to understand this add item stuff. And then I realized that the add item transforms some of them into a random number with some function. Then other ones it doesn't based on the node ID or edge ID. And then it pushes all of this to a new list here. So it's transforming the nodes from this to this list using this function on loop. If its array announce unknown data type throws an error. and then adds this stuff. Anyways, and then it's returning the length of O. And this trigger add items O with the callback T. Which is the same function. So it's a recursive function, and I assume that it does that for all the clusters of nodes and edges. And what is this O here? Is this function? Oh yeah, so this, I think this, the way that this works is this is the constructor of the class, and this whole thing is a class with all these functions. So it's the dataset class. Yeah, this is the stuff that generates the random number. And it's putting on this data. Equals which was, oh, I remember I spent a lot of time on this thing here, trying to understand what this is, which was very confusing at the time. And I'm still not sure if I get it completely, but I think he's looping through the object keys and then he's converting from one type to another type. I don't understand why. I really don't understand what's the purpose of even having this function here. Why change all the nodes or some of the nodes to this random number here? And I guess it has to do something with the ID of each node. Yeah, so if it has the ID, it throws the error, and if it doesn't, it converts the thing into a number. What is S again? S was the function. Yeah, this is a function call. I remember, I forgot. Oh yeah, it's because the argument of this function is a function, which was another thing I was trying to do, to figure out how to console log things inside of a function that it is an argument. Let me see if I remember correctly. But I'm pretty sure this I here is a function. So I'm not sure why it's not console logging. Maybe because I changed the size of the page. Well, let me see if I got the exploring VisJS. So where is this console log here? Let me see something. So what should be in the bottom here? No, I think this was the one that I opened with VS Code. Oh, I can do this. Hmm. Interesting. We can step over things. It's probably gonna go to infinity because it's probably a loop with all the nodes. Not infinity, but a large number. Oh, so this is the function that sets the options. It seems like it's gonna do that for all the nodes again. Or maybe it's just constantly doing that on the page. Yeah, it's just stuck. I think I'm gonna pause this. But what I wanna know is isn't it supposed to console log here? Oh, it is console logging. So how can I put this on the source? Damn, this is a pain. How was that the next last time it was showing up in the bottom of the page? Shift Control P. Doesn't do what I want. Don't understand. Did I have a different? I'm pretty sure it was this way that I did. whatever. I'm just gonna do like this. I think I'll search this later. So yeah, this is the function here. So I think what I have to search is, I also need to, wait a sec. I'm gonna change the settings on Chrome because I want choose DuckDuckGo as the main thing. Let me see if it works. Archer console log most function. I think I need to search in a different way. Not sure if the settings of my mic are good as well. I have to see. Unfortunately, I didn't get the recording for the previous yesterday because it didn't record the video on Linux. How can I search for this? Outro console log. Maybe if I call the function. Yeah, let me try that. So I'm gonna do stuff like this. I think when it passes an argument, it's just gonna return the export of that. I just don't understand uh, what's doing with these exports exactly. It's gonna make it s equals to the export value, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And T, if I remember correctly, oh, actually I don't remember really well, but I believe is the nodes and edges. So it's gonna set options with nodes and edges here by calling this function. I think this on prototype is inside of this equal statement here. Yeah, it's probably what's happening. Because this is an if statement. So if this is gonna do this, else is gonna do this thing. And R is the function for I here, which is gonna return that export value. The internet's kinda slow, which kinda sucks. Because it's gonna take a long time to reload this. They said it would normalize by 2:30 p.m., which is close to now. And it seems to be working, but there's still this problem where it's not connecting very well. So then it's gonna make n equals this, which is another function which with exports ID and loaded, which is a dictionary. Let me see what is n here, if it exists. It's probably another function somewhere else. Here, there's n, but it comes from this. And E is this argument, which is t here. So I'm gonna console log this t. I think t inside of the function is actually the nodes, but outside I don't remember. So I'm gonna console log it here first. And the issue is that it's gonna take a long time to see because of the internet. So it runs this function here, then it runs this one. Or prototype on function et where I equals this dot subscribers e. And I equals empty list, this subscribers e equals I push callback t. So it's pushing callback to the subscribers, whatever that is. You know, here. So I think this subscribers is just the object, a property of the data set. Let me see the network stuff. Now there's two parts of this. One is figuring out how to keep track of the nodes and edges. By the way that it is written here, I think the sequence of nodes, the way that they are farmed on the Python script, is lost because this just retains the connections and the nodes. It doesn't retain necessarily the order of each one, that each one was created, I think, based on the stuff that I saw from the random number, this add function, and this add item here. That's what seems to be happening. So I need to figure out a way to intervene with this add item function and this function so that I can keep track of the nodes. But then I also need to understand how the network uses these functions here. It has to use them at some point because of the interaction and all the options there. They have to be integrated with the dataset. But I guess it builds the dataset first, then it creates the network, and then the methods in the network interact with the functions in the dataset. That's what I assume should be happening. So network function 3,833. And I think this subscribe object on the dataset keeps track of the events that are happening to the nodes. It sucks that I can't console log because of the internet though. Because I'll probably have to do that several times to figure out what's going on. I can just read and see what's happening because of the letters. So here's making option. Because empty object. This is not the network yet, but I think it's interesting. Container nodes, edges. Maybe this is the constructor and this is off. Oh no, here, yeah. 1000, yeah, so it's cracked. Just stripping. So it's true here. So this is probably the constructor of the network. So it's building the container nodes, edges, and indices. Then on emitter object with this.on bind this. So it's creating an instance of on, off, emit, and once, which I believe are functions from the dataset. I'm not sure. I'm pressing F12 and it's not going anywhere, so I'm not sure if I'm correct on this. But it seems to be the case because of the function that I just saw there on the dataset. But maybe this is just referring to this property of this object here. Then creates a bunch of event listeners on tap, on touch, double tap, hold, on drag. So this is interesting. This is probably the functions that are being activated once stuff happens on the network. But they're just empty functions here. Data, functions. Selection handler, interaction handler. I can't see what is O and M. then it's making this equal to a bunch of letters. Well, probably this is the M and O here. M O. I guess it's just gonna be the same logic as the other function, where these letters here are equal to whatever is being passed in this I here argument. I assume that's the case. So I have to console log here. Oh, and this is probably was correct. Now I realize that it's just one above because I added the console log, so that's why it's incorrect there. Yeah, the internet is the problem here. Also, I'll be right back. So I think I'm gonna do things differently than what I was thinking about doing. And the reason why is because all of this stuff that has happened, I lost a bunch of time, and I thought I would have a lot more time to do this project. But now I already lost a couple of days that I thought I would be able to work on this, and probably gonna have less time in the future to work on this directly. So because I have a lot of other things to do and a lot of other things to study. So I think what I'm gonna do, let's see how much time has passed, 37 minutes. I think I'm gonna spend a little bit more time here just reading the the JavaScript file, and what I'm gonna do next time is I'm gonna work more on the other parts of the website, because this is just a cherry on top. And I think what I need to do is create the first page, which I also want to see if I can maybe do some animations with some network X graphs in the beginning page with the options, and see if I can style that. I think that's gonna be a good thing to do, and then necessary thing to do as well. Then I have to think about whether or not I'm gonna put options to put folders and scripts in the main page or on the next page. I do 2 pages, one for selecting which type of graph, which type of thing you wanna see, which for now is gonna be just the script visualization stuff and the folder visualization stuff. So I'm gonna put these 2 options, but maybe in the future, if I get more ideas, I'll probably expand on that. And then those 2 buttons I'm probably gonna make it so they go into another route, and then I have to see if I'm gonna put, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do another page where I give options for, from the script visualization, I'm probably gonna create a database instead of allowing people to put their own scripts, because that can cause problems, obviously, if people put scripts that try to get information or hacks something. That's not very good. So what I think I'm gonna do is create a database, and then for the folder tree, I think it might be possible if I can check, but then again, it's kind of tricky because people can put things on the folders. But I think since on the folder tree visualization stuff, since I'm not doing anything with the files and folders, I'm just getting the names, I don't think there's a problem with letting people choose a folder, and then I can put a check to see if it's a folder or not. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, so the initial page is going to have 2 options, one for script visualization and one for folder visualization. And then after that, there's going to be another 2 pages, one to select the scripts and one to select the folders. And after that, then once you select the folder and once you select the script, then I have to figure out a way to activate the scripts. And also I can also put options as well on that page for node colors, edges, and for which types of graph, showing what's because I have several different types of graph there, and that's going to be another challenge. And yeah, so I'm gonna work on all of this stuff before I even do this. And then once I have all of that done and I'm satisfied with what I got, then I can start thinking about doing this, which is improving the functionality of the thing. I think that's the best path, because then I'm, in case I don't manage it or I don't have time to finish this, I at least have already the something to show for, which is the site. So I think that's my plan. That's gonna be my plan. And also, I was studying Ethereum and blockchain, which is something that I'm gonna do right after this. I'm probably gonna do it off stream while I do this stuff, and I'm gonna really shift my focus because I realized that I'm wasting my time really. What I should be doing is just actually JavaScript is kind of necessary and React as well, and all the JavaScript libraries. So it's good to become better at JavaScript, but my main focus is gonna be on blockchain next because it is the future, and I don't see even. I'm not talking about cryptocurrency specifically, but developing technologies that use the data structures that blockchains use, I think is going to be the future. And then building AI stuff on top of that. So I think that's what I'm going to do later. Learn smart contracts and Solidity and blockchain. And then I was thinking about, because what he says is pretty much that the blockchain works like a tree. It has a tree structure and is a tree of hash functions. And then the computation to mine the blocks is pretty much solving the hash functions of the trees. I don't understand it really well, but every tree has a nonce, which is a unique number, and then they're all connected, and then each block has transactions, and each block has a hash, and that's how you connect several blocks together, and that's why it's a blockchain. And everybody can have that history in their computers, and that's why it's decentralized. So I was thinking about that. It might be possible, and it might be interesting to see if it is possible to use Network X to visualize the blocks of the blockchain. That would be an interesting project as well, and that maybe something I can add to the side later on. But I'll have to understand and study a lot more because I don't fully. I know the concepts and the stuff, but I don't fully understand everything, how it works in practice. Because it's hard to find videos as well. People talk superficially about it, and the main concepts and ideas I already get, but to actually understand how it works in practice, there's not a lot of people that talk about it. So probably we'll be doing that in the future as well, along with this stuff. So maybe if I open again, I have to open here. Pretty sure it's my internet's the problem. And another thing that I want to do, which is, uh, it's crazy because there's so many things to do. It's difficult to really focus. But another thing that I want to do is something with poker, which is to visualize the probabilities and try to understand how probabilities change over time. So running simulations of poker games to try to understand how the variance changes if you have a continuum space where a continuum sample size, or if you break that sample size down. So for example, we simulate 1 million hands at one time, and then on another time you simulate 100,000 hands, but in separate spreads of time, and then analyze how the variance changes through that, and try to study the variance, the probabilities of probabilities, which is Bayes something. The name for that, there's a field for that, but I don't think that I think it might be. I don't want to be attached to the conventional stuff because it's harder to be creative if you already have the ideas embedded into your mind. So it's hard to break what's obvious to you. And usually the big shifts in understanding paradigms comes from questioning what it's taken for granted. So I wanna see if I can do these experiments and run these calculations on this data to see if I can extract any patterns or anything interesting. That would be interesting as well. And then I could put the visualization on the site as well. But maybe I will separate these things into different sites, actually, because it might become too diffuse. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna probably build one site for each thing. This is the other file. So it creates these objects here based on these letters, which are functions, which pass other letters to them. Man, I have to say, it's insane the way they did this. So then it creates an instance of a canvas. This is probably all the constructor stuff, constructor parts. It's creating instance of each thing, attaching it to the canvas and the body of the HTML. I think I remember it's probably in the very bottom, the interaction stuff. I remember looking at the event listeners in the console log, or not the console log, the developer tools, and seeing that was down there in the key something. Yeah, these lines here, make item, start checkbox, then make range. So these events handle the stuff that I want to change there. So let me jump to the. So these are all the properties of the network, I assume. And probably stands for network. Also, this is interesting, set data. So this function probably calls the function on this line here. Or maybe it's just creating an instance. Return void, this set data. I can't find the instance of these functions. Let's see if I can search issues that the internet kind of. So I guess it's just this that is being slow for some reason. But the internet seems to be working. It's probably something for stabilization. Interesting. So this guy is the developer. What is a graphic parser? Hmm. I guess we'll just move on. One thing that might be interesting to do is if I manage to do the blockchain stuff, I could create some algorithm that makes a specific color depending on wallet address to visualize that could be very interesting. Visualize the transactions of that wallet. And also create something for volume as well. Changing node size based on volume. Also, graph is for dots, maybe? No, graph is platform. Hmm. So just graph this. I think I'll continue to read this. I think I'm gonna jump to those lines here. 16,244. This one? No. This. So function arguments I equals this. This log creation equals true. Then makes this. I've seen this before actually. Creates a div element. Then makes the class name as for s dot class name equals version config item vis config s. So E is the argument being passed, D is the arguments. Isn't that the same thing? Now depends what E is actually. Maybe. Just looping through the length of D. Looping through the arguments and appending child. Push s, which is this div here. Just calling this function here immediately, I suspect. To get these values here. And then returns a.v. What is a here? Doesn't seem to be anywhere. V is this thing here. Oh. If object equals this ternary operator here. Undefined equals type of A. Then is undefined else as A. As is this div here. And A, what is A? It's probably this, yeah. Because this is the last one, so that should be the last item here. Where does this for loop end? Here. So for this statement, it does this thing, then returns this function here. And that is equal to O probably. No, because then this would be N and this would be R. So I guess O and then O even R here. I don't understand. I don't have a lot of practice with these types of equals here, where you have multiple values in one side and something else on the other side. But I assume A is probably this, and then is returning this value here, which is the length of the DOM elements in the instance of this. So this is for the checkboxes. Make range is probably going to be very similar. Let's take a look because it's right here. So it's the same, different class, but same idea. Hmm. I don't think I saw this input here. So this is probably the function being activated when you change the value. What is U here? Doesn't show up anywhere. Oh, here. I was right on top of it. So U is the input. So input value equals this value. F update number this value I. Huh, great. Can't be possible to not have a definition. Doesn't make sense. It's probably the first one. Yeah. Maybe it's this thing here. Update. Yeah, this is part of the dataset thing. So it's probably this one that the update's referring to there. Oh, so these functions create the checkboxes as well? Huh. They probably create the thing on the div there when you pass the options. But they not necessarily are the ones being activated with the event listeners. And every checkbox seems to call this key. So it's probably so it probably is activated. It's just strange that you should create a div each time. So maybe it's not responsible for creating the actual div where you click on the page. This div probably doesn't have any, it doesn't change the style of the page, I would assume. Because nothing really happens when you accept the keyboard checkbox. But on the other ones, nothing really happens. So just pushing this instance of returning idle elements length, which I don't understand. Yeah, there's no other way around it. I'm gonna have to. Okay, so I have to console log this to understand. Otherwise, it's pretty much impossible. Maybe not impossible, but it would just take a long time. A lot more time. Which I don't have right now. So this is the eye on the network stuff. Yeah. Configure agents interactions. So the interaction part is being passed through the I argument in the network. I wonder if there is a easier way to just jump through there. Three, wait, three. Oh, data view function. That also seems interesting to look at. So it's going to receive the options through the I thing. Let me check again. Configure edges interaction physics. So I several is an object with other objects, I guess. Maybe not, because but this is just showing once, so I assume that that's the case. Yeah, so it's gonna call this with these arguments a bunch of times. Bunch of times. This is probably the wrong definition, but oh, maybe it's not. Just being passed here, and this calls this probably, which calls this. Turn E. No, that's probably what's happening. So this I is being passed to this one. Setting options here. Choose this function here. So E is gonna be probably the same object there. Let's see. Might take a long time again. Yeah, but that's what I think is happening here, so. How do I close this? And there we go. I probably put a break there here before. When I was playing around with the thing. Yeah, so it is the same thing. So it's an object with all the options that I passed. I think I'm gonna erase this. Oh, actually, I'll erase the other ones later. And then is accessing the parts of the object through the dot notation. Calling the function again, just with the other object. What is this A here? What is this function? And this I is supposed to be the options. Let me see. I'm gonna console log this and remove the other one. Let me just remove the one in the data stuff. The data set. I guess it is not necessarily the same I, because this functions is just inside of this one, but doesn't necessarily call it. So it's using this body emitter here to perform the event listeners. A.extend. Well, it's probably this A here. It's probably adding the options to this A here. Yeah, that's probably what's going on with this deep extend stuff. Yeah, so that should be this object here. Also, this is the stuff that I was looking at the other time. I forgot that I already saw this because I was confusing this with the dataset part. But maybe it works in the same way. So it's just gonna call this a bunch of times, updating whatever the I is there, and then sometimes it calls the function, which is the network. To update stuff probably. I guess my stream probably got interrupted, and now because it's giving me a warning that I just went live the second time. Yeah, this deep extend here probably adds items here. Let me see what deep extend is. Just get to the point, man. That's probably what I'm thinking about. Just gonna add this stuff on the object there. This main one. The A here. And this is already an extent. Hmm. And now is the export function there that I was just looking at. Hmm. This is probably, yeah, it's creating the event listeners for the network. Oh, so the keys start here. Interesting. Let's call it this function here. And this is the function that is gonna call all the other keys. Reset. And it has to be this function that returns this. Oh, but these keys are separated from the other ones I was looking at. these three functions here show up on the dataset. I remember that on some condition there. And I guess he puts this on the object there in the dataset that I just saw. Nodes listeners. So that's how it adds listeners to the nodes. So T is the argument, R is the instance of this. Isn't the body here? No, because it's probably getting this T from the body. So, which it is this argument of this parent function here. Do I have any name for this function? Yeah, I don't have. So I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know there should be some main function though. I think I'm gonna console log here each thing. If I can do that because of the internet. So I'm getting problems now. Not sure why. If I just reload this. Yeah, but I think this is the function that adds the event listeners to the nodes. But it doesn't make sense to have just these three event listeners. Unless this update is another function that does other things. I guess these delete functions are for when you uncheck the things. Uncheck the boxes here. And now it works fine. For 1,681. So it's just exports. Let's see if I can get the D and the I. I think after I do that, then probably gonna. This is the bugger, man. Annoying shit. Maybe if I just open the live server again. So it's an object. So I guess it's this function here. Probably. So T is this function. It says it's an object though. Yeah, but from this, I think is that function there. It looks like my internet failed. I think I'm gonna stop this stream now. The internet looks like it's off. Probably next time I'm gonna work on the other parts of this site, the main page and the stuff that I was talking about before. And then I will leave this only in case I still have time after doing all the other stuff for the end. Because I also wanna study all the other stuff that I have to study, the blockchain, stuff like that. So I might not even end up finishing this, we'll see. But next time I'm gonna work on the other parts of the website. So see you then.